Hey, hey, welcome to the Best Day podcast. Today we are talking about social media. Dun, dun, dun. That's kind of how it feels. But seriously, I want to talk about what I believe is the dinosaur in the room. And the reason I call it dinosaurs because it's that big thing that's standing there that is really easy to love, but also easy to loathe. And that's kind of where I am with social media. And I guess, let me be clear. We're going to talk about what social media is. But when I say it often, I'm referring to Instagram because that's the form of social media that I use. And I use it primarily 99.99999% for business only. But I have been wanting to talk about this for a minute now because I think it's everything I say today, I have felt for pre-COVID-19, pre-pandemic, but is heightened and it's even stronger because we are currently still existing through a pandemic among 5 billion other things. And so my intention for this episode is to help you think through your use of social media, and how your use of social media reflects your level of self-awareness and self-love. We talked about those two things in last week's episode, which I'll link to in the show notes. But if you're listening to this, just go back to the episode that's before this, episode 29. Listen to that one. It's very, very short. But really, that's the lens. Like I said last week, we're going to make our choices and look at the things that we do and say, how is this a reflection of my level of self-awareness and self-love? Or actually it is. And so what is that information telling you? So is your use of social media the reflection of self-awareness and self-love that you want to see? And this is not an episode that's downing social media or praising social media. It's just talking about it as it is. It's my attempt at talking through, like I said, a lot of these episodes are conversation starters, but talking through the things that I've observed, the things I have found to be helpful so that I don't experience the negative ramifications of social media. And it's not an attempt at giving you a one-size-fit-all set of rules. Nothing that I do is, for that matter, but rather to give you principles and questions to ask yourself, and then a lens to view your use of social media through. So with that, I have 4 things for you to think through with this episode. And then some practical tips. Well, I don't want to say tips, some practical things that you can pick and choose and say, this might work for me. And no, I don't want that. Just to give you some things to think of that might be of help to you. So let's get straight to it. First of all, definitions. I like definitions because if I'm saying social media and you're thinking cow and I'm meaning pen, then we're not having the same conversation. So let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. When I say social media, I am talking about let's say the definition is websites and applications, aka apps, that enable users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. That's like the official definition. And in a sense, because I asked this on Instagram, I said, do you guys think a podcast is social media? I don't think it is, because there's not, it's me talking to you. We're engaging in a sense, because a lot of you come from the podcast and you go to a social media platform and you engage with me, whether that is coming on Instagram and DMing me about the podcast, or that's usually the way most people talk to me about the podcast, or leaving a voicemail on our show notes, which I guess show notes has a way for you to comment and talk back to us. So I don't think the podcast, and 99% of you agree that a podcast is not social media, but particularly today when I'm talking about social media, I'm referring to what I call the big dogs: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I mean, you can throw LinkedIn in there if you're wasting your time on LinkedIn. Sure, why not include in the conversation? But today I'm really talking about those big 4: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I think those are the places that are really consuming a lot of people's time. And so those are the things that come to my mind when I think of social media. I know social media is much broader than those 4 platforms, but for the purposes of today, I think those are the places where you listening spend your time in whatever way you use social media. I believe one of those 4, if not a combination of them, that's where you're spending your time. You can let me know if I'm wrong. But I know there are more, but for purposes of this conversation, I'm going to focus on really two, maybe three of most of those, most of you are likely using, which is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, maybe TikTok. So we're focusing on those four: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. So here are my four things for you. I'm getting straight to it. The first one is I want you to think through and ask yourself and have a clear answer for each one of these, not a general answer. I want you to have as specific as possible an answer for these. The first one: what am I using this platform for? ? What are you using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter for? Is it for work? And if it's for work, is it to network? Don't say for work. That's not a specific answer. For work is not a specific answer. For personal is not a specific answer. You have to get more specific, okay? So is it for networking, socializing? Is it for business, which is how I use Instagram, which is my one source, my one place of choice. Are you using it to market? Are you using that to have conversation with your customer, to build content in one place? When you say for business, what are you using? And say this for each different platform you use. What specifically are you using it for? If it's for your personal life, meaning it's not for work, for business, is it to keep up with friends and see their pictures, or to watch celebrities and see what they're doing? For entertainment, to watch the latest reels? What is your specific purpose for using each platform? And if you don't have an answer, this is a great time and opportunity to really be like, what am I using this for? What purpose is the use of social media fulfilling in my life? That's the first question. What purpose is it fulfilling in your life? Why are you using it? And I think by starting to think through that question alone, it's going to help many of you, because what we're going to start doing is setting boundaries. We're only going to use it for the intended purpose. And when it is no longer benefiting the intended purpose, we have to pause and evaluate. So what are you using the platform for? That's number one. And remember, be specific. For work, for business, for play, to laugh. Those aren't specific. You need to get specific, okay? Number two, once you have that purpose, next you want to ask yourself, is this actually how I'm using it? So I say I'm using it for this. Am I actually in real life using it for that? Is the how I'm using it aligned with the what I want to use it for? Or do you say one thing, but use it for something else? Or do you use it to be entertained, but in actuality, it's becoming a numbing device, a place for you just to sit and be and feel that you're doing nothing and you need the space to just numb? Is it something that makes you hate your life? Or you're always like, I hate my life. Look at this. Is it something that makes you question yourself, doubt yourself, compare yourself to others? If so, we need to evaluate that, because I highly doubt, I'm willing to bet all the money in my wallet that no one wrote their purpose for using social media was to compare themselves, to hate themselves, to question themselves, to escape all of life and be an irresponsible human for hours. I don't think anyone wrote that down as their purpose. So if that's what's actually happening, we have to weigh that against that. Does your use of social media fit the purpose that you defined, the specific purpose? And does that specific purpose further something meaningful in your life? At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today.
Hi, Shantae. My name is Whitney, and I am from San Diego, California. I have been using the Best Today guide for a while now. I'm on my second one. And something I started doing recently was to begin asking my family what their Best Today looks like at the breakfast table. And it's been a really fun and interesting experience, especially with my 6-year-old son. A lot of the times, he prioritizes playing, which of course he should. He's 6. And then we talk about how he can do things that will help him get more playtime, and what things he might be doing that would not help him get playtime. So it's been a really fun exercise going through that with him. And even in the moments where we both kind of lose sight of our best, and he has a hard time listening. I have a hard time setting my expectations to his age level. When we talk about it and repair later, we both realize we didn't do our best in that moment, but we have so many more moments to do our best for ourselves and for each other. And so that's been a very fulfilling experience so far. So thank you, Shantae, for creating this product and creating all the resources that you have to help all of us be more intentional with our time, even my 6-year-old son.
Well, you're never too young or too old to be your best, one today at a time. And hey, if coloring all day is a way to live your best day, I say I'm all for it. Thank you so much for sharing, Whitney, about how the Best Today Guide, the Best Today practices, not only are working in your life, but how you're sharing it with your family and bringing it to your family time. I really love that. My own daughter, who is 8 years old, has started using the Best Today Guide, and it's a joy every evening to sit down together with her and help her think through what the next day will look like. So thank you so much, Whitney. If you'd like to learn more about the Best Today Guide, I want to invite you to go to besttodayguide.com. You can see videos inside the product. You can hear other customer testimonials. You can read customer reviews, all at besttodayguide.com, and order your Best Today Guide today at besttodayguide.com. I want you to really think through that and answer those questions. Does that purpose further something meaningful in your life? Because we only have a very limited amount of time each day, each week, each year. And if you think about it in terms of a year, it can feel big. If you think about it in terms of a month, it can feel big. But when we really take it one today at a time, we ain't got that much time. But that's getting into number 4. So let me keep going in order. Number 3, am I carefully and intentionally curating what I intake? Am I carefully and intentionally curating what I intake on social media? See, curating is going to help to place more limits and boundaries on your time and on what you see, because it doesn't really become this, let me just get on and see what's on the internet today, right? Let me see what's on the internet today, because that could take you all day. It's, what do these specific spaces that I find valuable have to say today? I'm going to check in and then I'm going to check out. So is your curation of what you intake on social media a reflection of self-awareness and self-love? And while I'm here, I'm going to do a quick sidebar and completely leave my notes and say this. I was talking to someone who I saw do a post about just mute people if you don't want to hear what they have to say. And I was like, muting people is not an act of self-love or self-awareness. It is, I wish I remember the analogy I gave her, but I don't care if my own mother doesn't follow me on social media, which she doesn't because she's not on Instagram. But I don't care who you are. You unfollowing me has zero effect on my life. Like literally, it has the same effect as my neighbor sneezing in the house next door. That has nothing to do with me. I need you to understand, people in your life who will literally take offense to you unfollowing you, you probably need them out your life anyway. Unfollow people you don't want to consume. Stop being so concerned about external things that are killing you internally. And that's a whole nother podcast. But y'all, you got to stop that mess. Carefully curate. And this is, hey, guess what? You can take this lesson to everything in your life. You need to carefully curate. If you're going to use social media with intention, carefully and intentionally curate what you intake and unfollow the people you want to unfollow. I promise you, I won't take it personally. I don't follow a lot of people who I know in real life because I know them in real life and we talk in real life. So I don't take it personally if they don't follow me. I don't get that, but I wanted to put that in there. Okay. So that's number 3. Is the curation that you have set, and if you haven't, you got to do that. And then say, is this current curation a reflection of self-love and self-awareness? Okay. And number 4, this is your question for you. How much social media is in my cup? How much social media is in my cup? Now, when I say in your cup, I'm going to tell you things that are in most of our cups. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, relationships that matter to us, work, rest, because rest is not just sleep, time with ourselves. Like, these are likely important things to you. And that's already a lot to have in your cup daily, weekly. So if you heard all those things that I already listed and you thought, I don't even have all those in my cup, baby, you ain't got room for social media. Take that out and make room for those things I just mentioned: sleep, nutrition, exercise, relationships, work, rest, time with yourself. How much room is social media taking up in your cup? Your time cup, each day, each week. I think it'd be a really good practice to physically map that out and look at that. Which of those sections are getting the most time each day? And is it a reflection of what you want? Is it a reflection of self-awareness and self-love? How much social media is in your cup? That is my question for you. And those are my 4 questions. And if you look at the questions, you also get some principles there. Number 1, we should have purpose. The things we do should have purpose. We should be using it with a specific purpose in mind. So what are you using it for? A specific purpose. Number 2, the specific purposes for the things we do in our lives should further something meaningful. It should connect to who you are, who you want to become, what you want. Number 3, carefully curate and intentionally curating what you intake. You should be applying this principle everywhere in your life, carefully curating and being intentional about what you intake, because it's affecting you. And number 4, looking at your cup. How much social media is in your cup? That is my question to you. Now, I do want to give you some suggestions on some things that if you would like to enjoy the benefits of social media, some ways to use it with intention. I'm not saying do all of these. I'm not saying do any of them, but some things for you to think about that just were on the top of my mind. After you do these 4, I want you to first walk through those 4 questions. I think that's going to be dramatically telling for so many of you. And I want to hear your response and your thoughts after you do those 4 questions. As a matter of fact, if you're in our text squad, text me. I want to hear your response to this. And if you're not, you can text the word podcast to 404-737-1002. And I'd love to hear what you discovered when going through those questions. But here are a few suggestions just off the top of my head. Number 1 is choose one platform. Social media gives us a lot of options. We don't have to go to the buffet and try everything. Which one, when you intake it, it doesn't give you an upset stomach, right? Pick that one. Choose one platform, or at least try it temporarily. Just one. Another thought is use your computer instead of your phone. I'm not sure if this is true, but I think it is. Every social media, and again, the 4 that I'm talking about, I don't know anything about TikTok. Let me say that. No, ma'am. No, thank you. I know nothing about TikTok. But Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can all access from a computer. Use your computer instead of your phone so that it's just a different experience. When you're sitting on the couch with your feet up and you're scrolling, it's a lot different than when you're on your computer. So use your computer. Another one is set time limits and honor them. 10 minutes, I'm going to check in to my specific curation. Do you know how many times I've gone to do that? And I'm done in 3 minutes because also I didn't put this on here, but stop following everybody. But that's part of curation. I have a curation. I'm not following a ton of people. And so it takes 2 minutes or less to catch up on things typically. So set limits and honor them. Another one is curate and come back to check in on that curation often. Prune as often as you need. Again, that's just going back to number 3. Are you carefully and intentionally curating what you intake? Next one is be honest with yourself about how what you're consuming is affecting you. Don't ignore the heartburn and keep eating the thing that caused it. And also be honest with yourself about the positive things, right? I had someone recently say, you are so direct and that is helpful to me. That might not be something that's comfortable, but it is something that is having a positive effect on your life because it's challenging the way you think and helping you. But if it's not, I don't know why you're here. I don't want anyone in my audience who is having negative ramifications of being in my presence, because that's not my intention and it's not helping you. And my intention is always to do things that are helping you. So those are just some ideas of places that could also be helpful. That's really what I wanted you, but I really want you to walk away with those 4 things. Go back, listen to those 4 questions and walk through those 4 questions. What are you using it for? What's that purpose? Once you have that purpose, does that purpose further something meaningful in your life? And are you actually using it within that purpose? And are you carefully and intentionally curating what you intake? And how much, that's a really good one, y'all. Spend some time in number 4. How much social media is in your cup? All right. That's what I wanted to discuss with you today. That's what I wanted to share with you today, and begin this conversation for you to really begin to look at your relationship with social media. Thank you so much for being present with me for this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. Until next time, please remember that you are capable and worthy of being your best, one today at a time. And you already have everything you need to have everything you want. So go on and shout it out as you live it out. This is what my best today looks like. I'll talk to you again on the next episode. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today Guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today Guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, when you order the Best Today Guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.